I'm Sue. Welcome to Fireside Chat. I'm so pleased and honored to have Dr. Stacy Theodossin, Ayurvedic doctor and Karuna Key master, Reiki master, owner Healing Goddess LLC. Welcome.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
It's great to be here.
After Stacy graduated from San Diego State University in 1992, she moved to the Detroit area and began her career in big business. She traveled the world and climbed the corporate ladder, but something was missing: balance. Before long, she was back to her studies, this time in Ayurvedic medicine. Her own journey to health and healing through Ayurveda had already begun years earlier when she was a patient with her own chronic health conditions. When she had the opportunity to deepen her knowledge, she jumped at the chance. At first, it was from an academic standpoint. She couldn't wrap her mind around how it all worked. Hours turned to years of study and eventually to a residency where she found many of the answers she sought. Her mission became clear. She needed to keep learning and growing and teach others how to heal and transform their own lives through deepening their understanding of spirituality and self-healing, especially through energy healing and Ayurveda, which is the science of life. In the summer of 1999, Healing Goddess LLC opened its doors. Stacy's skills were sought after, and less than a year later, her one-woman business was contracted to provide holistic health care services to the patients at a local cutting-edge medical practice. That led to a more than 20-year working relationship with a world leader in cancer treatment. Her training in Ayurveda and other holistic healing modalities, along with her abilities as an intuitive, empathic healer, provides the individual a comprehensive and unique skill set that incorporates seasonal purification and detoxification of the body, mind, and spirit. Stacy lovingly combines energy healing, massage, reflexology, yoga, meditation, herbs, aromatherapy, essential oils, and seasonal holistic nutrition, along with her no-nonsense communication skills and teaching style, into a one-of-a-kind transformative learning and healing experience. Stacy is dedicated to continually learning and honing her skills as a leader and educator and healer. In more recent years, Stacy graduated from Get Gutsy Coach Training School in the spring of 2017. She earned her Doctor of Divinity and became an ordained minister in January 2020. Stacy also studied with Ecstatic Dance International and earned her credential in March 2020, and another in July 2020. Education, consultation, spiritual services, and hands-on healing sessions are available in person and online. Stacy has expanded her mission and dreams to include transforming lives on a global level. She regularly helps people from around the world adopt healthy lifestyle habits, routines, and reduce stress by helping them create habits and conditions where they can thrive. Stacy is a skilled and accomplished light worker and energy healer. She is both a Reiki master and Karuna Key master in Reiki. She also practices Qigong, Jure, and Tai Chi. Stacy incorporates spirituality and energy work into her hands-on sessions and video sessions, as well as providing education for those that want to learn more about these ancient healing techniques and practices. For those who want to immerse themselves in healing, there is Club Me, My Energy. So I will show the website, and in a few seconds, I'll show the phone number. So welcome, Stacy. I'm so thrilled that you have time to talk with me today. Thank you for coming.
So much, Sue.
Thank you. I met you a few weeks ago, and so glad that we met that day, networking, and it's just so nice to meet a kindred spirit. Sometimes I think, if you've taught Reiki, if you're a healer, if you've gone through years of questioning, and doctors don't have the answers, sometimes it is necessary, isn't it, to be your own
I think it's always, regardless of who's on your healing team, it's really important that you honor your own intuition and what feels right to you along the
Definitely.
healing path, rather than just accepting a one size fits all
Hmm.
diagnosis and or treatment plan, So
Right.
really getting out there and exploring what's available to you. And I even encourage my clients, Ayurveda is one of the vehicles that we use in my practice and along with energy healing and so on. And a lot of times, what you read was what you shared was a mouthful. And I know that. And people say, oh, you do so many things. I
True.
really don't. It's all one thing. Ayurveda is the oldest, most complete holistic healing system in the world.
Wow.
That means the science or wisdom of life. And so that tenet of body, mind, and spirit comes from Ayurveda.
Wow.
And so when something, it's like a three-legged stool, right? If one leg is not balanced, the stool falls over.
That's
But
right.
if all three legs are balanced, it's very sturdy, right?
So body, mind, and
Body,
spirit.
mind, and spirit. So if something's off
Wow.
in one of those, then something's going to be off, right? So
Definitely.
people come to me for different reasons, but yoga is the sister science of Ayurveda. The use of essential oils, chanting, meditation, all of these things are part of the system of Ayurveda. So they're not separate things. They're all
Wow.
part of the system of Ayurveda, which makes it a complete system
So
to
is
help
it
care for ourselves, body, mind, and spirit.
like, is it older than like Chinese
It
medicine?
is. It's been
Oh
around for
my
about
goodness.
6,000 years in continual use. And
Wow.
it is the oldest, most complete holistic medical system in the world. So, and it comes from India. And
Oh my
people again,
goodness.
I've studied energy healing modalities from around the world, and in Ayurveda, the language of Ayurveda is Sanskrit. So
Yes.
we use the word prana. Prana is the word for life force. So we have pranayam; those are the breathing techniques that you use in yoga and in Ayurveda.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Qigong,
Mm-hmm.
Qi is the word in China to
Okay.
describe energy.
Okay.
And in Reiki, ki
Key.
is the word in Japan that they
Right.
use to describe energy. But what I've learned from studying all these different types of energy healing is
Mm-hmm.
that really we're all pulling from the same place.
Yes.
And that means that we're pulling from that source. So you don't have to be a particular religion, even though I'm an ordained minister. You don't have to be a particular religion to
Mm-hmm.
participate
Mm-hmm.
in these ancient healing
Wow.
practices. But I really do believe, 95% of the world believes in a higher power. Think that that's really important
Wow.
in your healing aspect,
Yeah.
that you
True.
people ask me all the time, is it like the placebo effect or why does it work? And I really truly believe that if your belief system is, your mindset is that, and I truly believe this, that everybody has the ability to self heal
I love that
and that we can all learn how to take better care of ourselves and in turn heal ourselves.
because
So
the body has wisdom.
absolutely. And again, Ayurveda literally means the wisdom or science of life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What a
So
lovely word. I know. I'm really glad that people like Deepak Chopra came, and did lots of
he's a
work.
San Diego person. I was able to go to his healing center, which is in La Jolla.
Wow.
And I also actually heard him here in the Detroit area years ago at the Church of Today. He
Oh
came to
my
speak
goodness.
before anybody knew who he was.
Wow.
Yeah. And I
He's
was like, how can people not know who he is? Like, I was so into him,
because
even when I was a college student. But again, my journey in Ayurveda started many, many years ago
mm-hmm,
because of my own health problems
mm-hmm,
and me needing to find a different wisdom.
yeah,
Western medicine wasn't cutting it for me, and it's not to there are absolutely times that we need medication. There are absolutely times that we
totally,
need blood transfusions,
totally,
surgery, we need different things.
yeah,
There are absolutely times for that. But at the same time, our body has an innate ability to heal naturally.
yeah.
And that if we allow our body that wisdom and that space and we
Mm-hmm.
give it what it needs, it really can heal.
So I wonder, yeah, because he came to Michigan. I don't know how many years ago Deepak did, and he met like Wayne Dyer, and they became like best friends.
Yeah.
And they were both laughing at each other because Deepak was saying I think Wayne said to Deepak, he was like, nobody in my graduating class was called Deepak because that's such an unusual name. And Deepak looked at him and said, well, there's definitely nobody
Name what?
named
Wayne?
Wayne.
Yeah.
Like in some Indian ashram somewhere. Like, it's so funny. Like, but they both had the same wisdom. They both knew that there's so much more than what we see.
And again, you can be from other parts of the world and still be on that same page. We're just
Totally.
calling it something different, you know?
Exactly.
So even though I've shared, we have prana, we have chi, we have ki, we have all these things, we call it life force here.
Right.
And we talk about ourselves in energetic terms. Everybody does. I feel up, I feel down, I feel,
That's true.
so
Yeah.
we're all aware to some degree that things are energetic, but everything is energy, right?
And you've worked for many years in the hospital. So did you find that healing wasn't just doing your job, but also listening to people and feeling what they were going through?
Absolutely. A lot of healing happens, I truly believe. There was some study that I read recently that was saying that people need 8 minutes to share to really feel heard, where somebody will just listen to them for 8 minutes.
I like that.
And it's really fascinating to me because in a medical environment, how many medical staff actually give you 8 minutes?
8 minutes.
And when I see people, I literally sit and listen. I was just working at the hospital yesterday in Detroit. I'm, at Carmanos Cancer Treatment Center, and I'm going into the infusion area. I've worked in a lot of capacities there, teaching classes, lifestyle classes. I've taught Reiki there. I do hands-on healing sessions with people, and I do a lot of listening. But people, especially when they're facing a life-altering, life-challenging illness diagnosis,
Right.
you really do a lot of soul searching, and but I give the people the 8 minutes, and it's fascinating what they want to talk about, but they feel truly heard.
I'm so glad.
And I regularly hear, thank you for listening, or thank you for the conversation that we've had.
Because they even know that you've given them something deeper than just...
Yeah, because they are being truly heard. Yeah.
And seen.
And it's an amazing thing. So, even
Do
when
your hands get warm?
They do. You want to feel my hands right now?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at the difference. Like mine is cold compared to
people
you.
tell me all the time, like, it feels like a warm blanket,
That's
So even though
exactly
people
what it
might not
feels
be
like.
familiar with what I do, and I will talk to them about energy and what I'm doing and where it
Absolutely.
comes from,
Absolutely.
they feel it.
Yes.
They absolutely
It's
feel it.
unmistakable. And even
Yeah.
if you don't understand it, you don't need to get the benefit.
I've been out like in public at a restaurant, a club or something, and I've literally had people make a beeline for me and say, "Are you an energy worker? Do you do Reiki? What do you
Really?
do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And they'll be like, "I knew it. We were talking about you." Like they pick up on it. They can feel it. But even if people don't have any experience with it,
Right.
they absolutely
Doesn't
can feel
matter,
it.
right? Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
So, you're touching, I do a lot of foot rubs while I talk to people, that kind of
That's
thing.
lovely. Yes.
And,
That's
and,
lovely.
and people really do appreciate it. It feels so good. But like reflex points, it really does help. But it'll improve their circulation like immediately. So I'll find people who have cold hands, cold feet. And
Wow.
after 15 minutes with me, their whole body is like warm, like they had it. And they'll say, I feel like I have a warm blanket on me.
But they probably never feel like that.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting about Karuna, because Reiki is a wonderful modality, right?
Yes.
And it means universal life force energy. Karuna ki means compassionate energy. The word Karuna means compassion.
Karuna.
Yeah,
Karuna.
Karuna
Okay.
is Karuna. And that literally in Japanese means compassion. So it's a compassion. And when you ask people to describe it, love. That's
Yes.
the word that comes out is love. You hear that one a lot. So
That's beautiful.
it's unconditional love. That's literally what that feeling is
You know
that
what?
they're
Like,
receiving.
doesn't that feel so right?
It does. It really does.
That's why we came here, right?
And
Like,
people ask me all the time, do your hands get tired? And I said, not specifically my hands. When you've had a busy day, busy week, when I am ready to relax,
Yeah.
I'm all over ready to relax, my whole body. But I said, I truly feel like I'm helping people. So it really
Yeah.
keeps you energized throughout your day, and you're able to keep the energy up,
well, I'm
to work
wondering,
with the
like, if the
people.
energy comes from, like, out here, or God, or, and it comes here, then it comes past your heart and out through your hands. So you're kind of
It's
receiving a
literally flowing
healing.
through you. So it's not
Right.
coming from me, it's flowing
No.
through me. So it doesn't take anything from me.
Right.
If anything, I get
Right.
a little boost every time
Right.
I'm plugged in
Which is
to the
lovely.
universal energy. Every time I plug into that energy and I have it flowing through me, I get a little boost too,
That's lovely.
So
I'm
I
so
feel
glad. And I feel like now instead of like 20 years ago, you've heard of Reiki, you've heard of, right? Like even in a hospital that you can ask for Reiki or therapeutic touch or reflexology. Like
well,
it's
I
so
feel
great.
very blessed that like Carmanos took a chance on me. I've been there 25 years.
I can't believe that.
And people, like you said, 25 years ago, there were people who thought that like you couldn't do any kind of massage or any kind of, they didn't know what energy work was, but they didn't think it was safe to touch the cancer patients, right? And we all need
Oh
healing,
my
loving
goodness.
touch, right?
Yeah.
So think about that. Like your family thinks they can't touch you, your
Right.
loved ones think they can't touch you. The doctors and nurses aren't touching you except to maybe draw blood
Yeah.
or
A transaction to do some kind of.
it's transactional and it's not, again, we're back to like that karuna is that loving, compassionate energy. And people feel that, they
Yeah.
truly do. And that right there is healing. And they're getting their 8 minutes or longer, really with me, they get longer, to just, talk, express themselves, say what's on their mind,
You don't
and
have to
it's,
deliver difficult news though. Would their doctor deliver difficult news and would um would they
well, when I'm at the hospital, I am seeing people who have already been diagnosed.
Okay.
They are in treatment. That's
Okay.
why they're there. So
Okay.
they've already gotten the bad news.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
I mean,
So
but I certainly hear about how that news is affecting their family relationships,
definitely.
their marriages, their ability to work, their ability to earn a living, their ability to do self-care and take care of themselves. All
Wow.
of that is affected by that diagnosis and the treatment that they receive.
So how would Ayurveda speak about something like cancer? Like does it have a whole different way of looking at it?
Any disease state means that we're out of balance. So that's exactly how Ayurveda would look at it, whether that be cancer, diabetes, heart disease, you're spiritually off, your energy is low.
Wow.
You have
Dis-ease. Yeah.
you have allergies. It is a state of dis-ease in
Right.
the body, right?
Right.
That would be but again, we're looking at body, mind, spirit. So some people seek me out or seek out somebody like me or the kind of services I offer because they feel energetically off. They don't know what it is, right?
Right.
Maybe they don't have a disease state yet, but they feel like they're heading that way,
Right.
right? Because they don't and maybe they go, I think I could be doing better.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's something I could
Maybe
be
I
doing
should. Yeah.
that I could look into. Maybe there's a way to make myself feel better. So some people will come and seek me out because spiritually they feel like something's off, right?
Wow.
And so that's why eventually I became an ordained minister. I didn't start there, but it has been such a huge piece of what I've done all these years that holding space for people in a spiritual sense.
That's
And really,
beautiful.
there is a spiritual component to all the work that I'm doing.
It's
you
just
know?
lovely that people don't have to be afraid to say something that's deeply touching or something that they've always believed or like there's so much more acceptance I think now than there was when you first started at the hospital about all kinds of things. Like we can actually talk about like men can talk about emotions and about fear and about crying. Like there's so much
Where they can actually not just talk about it, do those things,
right.
show their
They
emotion,
need to. They need
right?
to. Yeah.
So I had an older gentleman yesterday, and I don't know, people just talk about whatever they want to talk about.
That's
And
what I was thinking,
I
yeah.
sit there in non-judgment, and I listen and I hear all kind of stories. But he was telling me something that he was an older gentleman, retired. He's got kids, grandkids, all of that.
Wow.
He's an older retired gentleman. And two of his three siblings are still alive and they live in different parts of the country. And they are going on a trip together to Niagara Falls. Just them. He's like,
It's
we're not taking our
lovely.
kids. We're not
That's
taking our
lovely.
grandkids.
I
And he
love
was
that.
saying that since he was a child, he's literally just never went and spent time with his siblings. And now that they're getting
Such a
older and they
lovely
lost one of their siblings, They just really felt that that was important. And he
That's
was like a little kid, so excited. But again, you're watching somebody's energy raise.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that the nurses and doctors that are there, not that they're not compassionate, but that's just, they don't have time to hold space for that.
Yeah.
Right. So he was so excited talking about that. But I feel like just planning that and talking about it was a little
Totally.
bit healing for him.
Yeah,
But he got a
absolutely.
little teary-eyed. He got a little emotional,
That's
you
so
know, talking
beautiful.
about this trip that they have planned
That's a lovely place to go
this holiday
because
season.
there's so much to do there. So they're going to go like in the fall, like
Well, but just the point was that they
whenever.
made the plan. It doesn't matter if you're going down the street to a restaurant.
Yeah.
He hasn't made
True.
plans with his siblings, just them, since they were children. They've always included their kids or their grandkids or extended family.
Yeah, it's not at all the
And
same.
it's not the same.
No, it's not.
And he was just really, really looking forward to just going to be with his siblings. And I said, you know, that's really
That's
neat.
so beautiful. I have some
Yeah.
places I'd like him to visit because he may not know that there's this beautiful place called Niagara on the Lake,
Yeah.
and it's a half hour from
But
Niagara
I don't think
Falls.
it's about all the sightseeing.
It
I
isn't,
really
I
think
know.
it's about
It's
they're
just
tuning in with each
time.
other's energy and
Yeah,
just
just
being.
time.
And how you are with your siblings is very different than how you are with other people in the world. So that's
That's
just
true.
a different kind of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know, that's
Yeah.
really great. And maybe if he wasn't in treatment right now, maybe he wouldn't have made those plans.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, sometimes
it-
it's a gift, right?
I've had many people over the years say that getting cancer or some other life altering diagnosis was a gift, and I feel the same way for myself. Like
amazing.
it happened at a young age, but it made me really have to think about what was important to me
Right.
and how I want to show up in the world.
It's nice though that you thought about that at 20 and not 80. I think it's wonderful
But
that
whenever
you were
you
having
think
this
about
wonderful time.
you know,
Yeah.
whenever you think about it, and I've had people tell me like, you know, getting cancer, it kind of sucked, right? But the gift was that they now take better care of themselves.
Yeah.
They now make themselves a priority. How do we get into a disease state or off balance like
Right.
this? Like one leg of the stool is missing.
Right.
Somehow we're not taking care of ourselves, whether that be spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, however that is, however that shows up for us.
Right.
We've put ourselves on the back burner somewhere.
Yeah. I know. And then you start having children, and oh my gosh, they are so all consuming, aren't they, children? Oh my gosh.
It can be, but also how we show up in the world. I was talking with Antoinette about this earlier. You know, she's doing genetic testing and so on, and there can be a genetic component to people having various kinds of cancers or heart disease or different
that's
things.
true.
But I was saying that from my perspective, what they also share are their habits. So how they eat, how they take care of themselves. Do they exercise? Do they meditate? Like, how are they taking care of themselves? Do they have a
Okay.
spiritual practice?
Right.
We also show our kids how to take care of themselves by what we're doing for ourselves. And I've had to re-educate a lot of women who are young, who have young kids who have cancer. I had cancer.
You
It's
did
been
too.
14 years now. It was actually I started my treatment for that right around Halloween 14 years ago. And my youngest child was just a year old at the time.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that must
And
have been
I've
just...
met other people, of course, along my journey that are in a similar position. You have a lot to live for. I had a 1-year-old, right?
Yes.
You have a lot to live for, and you have to go, you know what? I have to make myself a priority. And so my kids have grown up seeing someone make
That's true.
taking care of themselves a priority,
That's true.
right?
Yeah. And it's funny how many people, like, they have PTSD or they have trauma, things like that. It still has a residue of it in their energy. And
And it's just one of those things that you can continue to work at over time. You know, in fact, I'm getting together. I'm doing a special program for a psychologist with her staff, and they work with people with PTSD.
Wow.
And we're going to specifically work on some somatic exercises and some breathing techniques for people who have PTSD.
wow.
So that was something that they had invited me to come and do. So
That's amazing.
this is very familiar work to me. Most of the people that I see have some kind of trauma background. So most of the people that you see, especially the younger they are in a disease state, the more likely there was some kind of trauma in the background that really kept them from taking good care of themselves.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Because,
So-
our children are watching us, aren't they? They're
Yeah.
like, if we're having pop or if we're having water, they're noticing. right?
Absolutely. And my kids we don't have
They
sodas
probably
at the house.
they
And
probably
I'm
don't
not
even
saying
miss
that
it.
they don't drink an orange pop or a 7 Up
Yeah,
on
like for
occasion
fun
if they're
or
at a party,
yeah.
but we don't buy that stuff. It's not in our house, you know.
So I like the idea. You were telling me earlier that I could actually put like lemon essential oil. I could put like say 3 drops in like my glass of water, and that it has properties, not just
I want to make
nutrition.
sure I point out that I gifted you a food grade
Yes,
quality lemon
yes,
oil. Not
totally
all lemon
important.
oil is
No,
created the same.
no,
So that one that I
it was
provided with you,
specifically that you can
that
ingest
one
it.
specifically you can consume. And so again, with the Young Living ones, the ones with the white labels are food grade. So
Okay.
all of the ones with the white label you can consume,
Yes.
and they have other color writing, but the base of the label is white. If it had a colored label on it, then those are ones that you would use for aromatherapy or to like diffusing it, or sometimes you can use them topically. And most of the oils you do want to dilute because they're quite strong. So you can see that one's got the white label on it.
Yeah.
So that is the food grade. But again, it's got antibacterial, antimicrobial properties. So
Wow.
it's very cleansing for your digestive system.
Right.
But you can also sprinkle that around, diffuse it. It will clean your air.
That's
You can
beautiful.
disinfect. Cleaning and disinfecting are two different things.
Okay.
And again, in Ayurveda, we're staying away from chemicals. We're leaning into the natural world. So I don't have cleaning products. I use vinegar, baking soda, and essential oils
Wow.
primarily to do my cleaning.
So there's
You
nothing.
can make yourself like Febreze with like using like soda water with a little bit of essential oil. Um, I have a cousin who lives in Germany, and I just talked to her the other day. She has COVID for the 5th time. We used essential oils to keep our environment clean during COVID, and I'm just shocked at the number of people I've met who are like have had multiple times COVID, and they're acting like we should all just accept that we're going to get COVID, like getting the flu or a cold.
Wow.
I have not had COVID. My children have not had COVID. My mother has not had
Oh
COVID,
my
like my
goodness.
immediate family, and I don't expect to get COVID. I
Wow.
expect to stay healthy because I am making a point of cleaning and disinfecting with natural ingredients, right?
That's unbelievable. And you work in a hospital, so like you're exposed
I
to a lot
do,
of
but you can
people.
also make a hospital grade disinfectant with vodka and some thieves essential oil. So
Really?
yes, so you remember when the guy was hoarding all the sanitizer at the earlier parts of COVID, and he actually got fined and all that
Oh
because he
my
had
God.
like two
So
hundred
much
thousand
of it.
dollars worth of
Yeah.
hand sanitizer that he was trying to highway rob everybody, and they were all in a panic. I went and bought the cheap vodka that nobody wants to drink, 150 proof stuff, and bought a big bottle of it for like under $10.
So
And
yeah, it's really
I
reasonable.
mixed it with my essential oils,
My
and
goodness.
you can make a hospital grade disinfectant. So I
Wow.
could spray down and wipe down and clean down
That's
everything in my house
wonderful.
with that.
Yeah, it's amazing that your family didn't, that your children didn't, that your mom
Yeah.
didn't. Like that's amazing. It's
Yeah. And I'm amazed that my cousin, who's quite a bit younger than me, has been sick 5 times with
times.
COVID. Because what's going to happen is you get permanent lung damage after a while. It
Oh.
damages your lungs.
Gosh, like
So
she could have avoided all of this if she knew how to naturally,
care for yourselves. Plus,
yeah,
there's
your
just
home.
precautions that people can take. But again, being able to clean and disinfect, because cleaning is like wiping things, right? That's cleanliness. Disinfecting is a totally. And you need to. And so a lot of the cleaners that are on the market are actually quite toxic, and some of them are neuro disruptors. So
Wow.
they have they're neurotoxins, and they can damage your nervous system. They can cause problems to kids going through puberty and all of
Oh
that.
my
Yeah.
goodness. And
So
it's
there's a
like,
lot of reasons to turn to. And think about all the things I told you I clean with. That you can put inside your body. Vinegar, you can also consume vinegar,
that's true.
and you can also consume baking soda.
Baking soda, that's true.
You
So
can
it's not
you
going to hurt
can
you.
It's not going to harm you. It's not going to harm your animals. But vinegar will get rid of a lot of pests in the house. Like if you get ants or
Wow.
something, they don't like it. Spiders, they'll get rid of it. So there's a lot of ways to keep your home healthy and yourself healthy without introducing chemicals and all that. And then people will say, well, it's really expensive to eat organic, or it's really expensive. But if you cut out all the other stuff you're spending money on that's actually not supportive to you, think about all that money that you save.
Right.
I buy these huge bags of baking soda at Costco. Like, it's like 6.5 pounds or 12 pounds or something. It's huge. It's heavy, right? Wow. And I think about you can bathe in it. It's really good for your skin.
Wow.
You know,
Epsom salts.
You can brush your
too.
teeth with it.
Wow.
Yes, Epsom salts. You can consume as a laxative, but it also depends whatever time. But yes, for muscles and stuff, if you have muscle soreness and so on, that's another one. But that's not a cleaning thing. But you can use a lot of different salts. I have various kinds of salt in the house because they do different jobs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Know? So you can make cleaning products using salts as well. But of course, you can use it in your food, and it's a preservative, and you can do all kinds of things.
And it's inexpensive.
Very inexpensive. And again, you can buy huge quantities of it. I buy like the 3-gallon jug of, vinegar, and I have white vinegar, and I have red wine vinegar, and I have apple cider vinegar, because they all do different things.
Right.
Is
apple cider vinegar, have you ever heard some people try to see if it'll help them lose weight? Have you ever heard anything like that? Apple cider vinegar?
Well, I know a lot of people use it to cleanse because, again, it can help you detoxify. And that's a really important aspect of Ayurveda, is that we do detoxification a couple of times a year. So right now I'm leading like a detox that's a 6-week program that I have. And that's how we ease from, into the fall season and into winter.
Yes.
Is we do a detox, and then at the end we move into spring, we do another detox.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. So, and for detoxification, it's not all just about the foods that we're eating. It's also taking care of our energetic space and preparing our home to be, comforting for us and healing for us over the winter months where we're inside a lot more.
That's true.
So
yeah, it's almost like a blessing, isn't it? It's kind of like a blessing. It's not really religious, but it's almost like you're grateful for your home. You're going to be spending more time there, and you just make it energetically pleasing and
of course,
comfort, right?
Yeah,
it's comfort.
And having I'm big into having like little altar spaces where you might do your meditation, or put some things that are like important to you, just to honor them, whether that be pictures of family or little tokens of things. But I'm also big into, if you're not using something, you don't have a use for it, it's not pleasing to you, it's not bringing you joy, get rid of it, because it zaps your energy. So
that's so
I do my detoxes, I call them a clean and cleanse, right? So we're cleaning and cleansing our environment and ourselves and our energy. So it's even a time of year how you get like a lot of ads this time of year now because of holiday shopping and this and that.
Right.
Sometimes we sign up for newsletters or different things thinking that we have an interest, and then you might go back and look and go, gosh, I haven't read any of those.
Right.
I unsubscribe.
Yeah.
It's taking my energy to even have all that sitting in my inbox.
That's true.
I really only want the things that are right now lighting me up.
Right.
So sometimes something's right for you at one time, and it's no longer a good fit.
Right.
Let it go.
It feels good to unsubscribe. It does.
And all that. So
like even just I put stop if like a text comes through and I'm like, I don't really have any interest in that. I'll like go stop right away. Like I used to do it like a week or two later, and now I just do it right away. I'm like, nope, right?
But sometimes we let them pile up because you keep thinking, well, maybe I'll get to that, right? And then next thing you know, you have 3,000 unread emails. And that weighs on your energy to some degree.
I feel like it's a physical thing. Like you can feel heavy and things can feel heavy. And it's funny because like even paper that you don't need anymore, why is it like that? It might be easier to get rid of clothes and things you don't wear, but I feel like it's so easy to keep paper. Like even if it's all neatly filed and organized, I feel like, why am I holding on to
I have a friend who's literally trying to get rid of having a filing cabinet. She's thinking that and I don't know if she'll get there, but she's like, I'm thinking that there's no need for a filing cabinet. And I'm like, that'd be really interesting. I know my paper load lightened up when we were part of that flood 3 years ago in the Dearborn, Detroit area. And my whole neighborhood was flooded. So all my file cabinets and all the things,
oh my God,
got flooded. So, I mean, there was things I definitely wanted, but there was also things I absolutely didn't need.
Right.
And it's like, that really helped me let go of some of that stuff too. But I do make a point twice a year minimum to go through and go through the closet and go through the emails and all the different
Right.
things, and even look through the cabinets and what food do we have, and are we
That's
really
true.
do we really eat this? Do we really
Just
use
the
this? Or
fridge.
can I donate that to some place
Right.
where it's going to be more useful?
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels good to give, doesn't it? I
It
think
does.
we're
I have a
hardwired to
kid
give.
who'll be like all about one kind of food or whatever, and you'll buy. And as soon as you have a plethora of it, a little abundance of it, I'm not into that anymore.
Yeah, I know. And you're just
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I just
And
bought
then I
10 of
say,
them, you know?
yeah. And then I'm like, yeah, because I went when it was on sale and I
Exactly.
stocked up thinking, oh, I'm good. I
Exactly.
stocked up. And so,
It's
we
true.
let that stuff go, you know?
Yeah. It's
It feels good. It helps you
it
lighten up.
feels. Oh my gosh, it really does.
And
Yeah.
that transpires into all the other things too.
Mm-hmm.
Like relationships that don't fit anymore, friendships
Yeah.
that don't really,
True.
one-sided, lopsided relationships that they're the wrong fit, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I
as
know.
you
Like,
learn to like let go and just appreciate what you have, stay in the moment.
yeah, that's amazing. You've learned so much, like for just how to live a gentle, balanced life from all of these different modalities. I think it's really taught you to be calm, to be appreciative, to live in the moment. And that a
We
lot
all
of us,
need those reminders.
we
though.
really
It is
do.
like
We
we're all a
really
work in
do.
progress. Do you know what I mean? I have my
So
good
true.
days and my bad days, and as a former people pleaser, I have those tendencies too, where you know, you want to always be available to help people,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you have to look at like what is it that I need to do for myself too, and that's a reminder. And I think that's one
Right.
of the things that helps me connect with people because I do know how hard that is sometimes to make that space for yourself. But I'm like, if you don't give yourself permission to be well, who's going to do that for you?
No one is going to give you that time. They're not.
No, you have to carve it out for yourself. You have to demand it. You have to put a boundary, a fence around it, and say, that was a thing that I had with one of my family members who seemed to need a lot from me at times. And I would be like, I would literally, and I still do this, and I tell my clients to do it too. I put my dinacharya, my daily routine, those things that I really, really want to have happen, I put them on my own calendar.
Okay.
You know,
Because they're important.
they are important to me. And one of the aspects of dinacharya is that we like to rise before 6 a.m., right? And I guess if you work nights, maybe it would be different. We would flip it.
If you could choose your time, though.
But I do wake up before 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
because that gives me, because, we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Yes, we do.
And we all need rest. We all need to eat nourishing food. We all need to have personal time. We all need to
Every
have
day.
all of these things to find balance in that day. And I know back in the day with the unions, they were 8-8-8. That was their thing. 8-8-8. 8 hours of rest, 8 hours of work, 8 hours to do the rest of life.
all right.
That's what that was all about.
Okay.
So we're choosing how and where we spend our time and who we spend it with.
Very much. Very
Right?
much. Yeah.
So it's critical how we choose to spend that time and who we choose to spend it with.
So do you find like, because of screens, like we're in front of screens so much, myself too, it's just, how would Ayurveda ask, is this something that is good for you, or is it something that you could think about, or how would Ayurveda view our screen time?
I think like anything, there's pros and cons to everything.
Yes.
And there has to be balance.
Yes.
We can learn a lot from our screens.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Just like we can learn a lot from reading books and talking to other people and spending time in nature and all the different things.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So as long as it's not detracting from the rest of your life, I mean, is the screen time that you're having, is it adding to your life somehow?
I think it's taking away time for walking and things like that. But
I know a lot of people who will put their phone on and listen to an inspiring podcast
that's lovely.
while they're out walking.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Or they might go walk and talk with a friend
Yeah,
that they
that's
can't get in
wonderful.
touch. They can't hang out in person. They will get on. I even sometimes do like a video call with a friend,
That's
and I can be like,
wonderful.
look at what I'm seeing while I'm walking. Now, I do prefer when possible to go walking in person with a friend.
Yeah.
And, speaking about that, I feel like, especially we're coming into holiday time, so many people plan their activities around food.
Yeah.
And I really often try to plan my activities around dancing, yoga, taking walks.
That's beautiful.
It's a great way to connect with people
So
without all
nice.
the extra calories, right?
Yeah,
That we
yeah.
don't need. And that sometimes we don't eat as well when we're in a group thing because we go, oh, I'm at a party, right?
Right.
So just this, and it's like really every day we have to think about what we're doing. And I'm not saying you can't enjoy your life,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But instead of focusing the activity on let's going out to eat,
Right. And that's the focus.
and that's the focus of
Right.
it. It's like bring your bottle of water,
Yeah.
bring your protein bar or your fruit or whatever you're doing, and we'll stop and eat it together after we walk, right?
Right.
But let's go out in nature. I went for a 6-mile walk with a friend of mine this week because it's been so beautiful.
Wow.
And we're going to be stuck inside
Yes.
soon enough.
And
you
it's
know?
like November, and it's amazing that it was like 73 in late October. Like,
I know.
I was just so grateful. I feel like Michigan is just turning out
But
to be
then
the
I
most
want to
beautiful
go
place.
walk at the museum
Yeah.
in the wintertime.
Look how
if
lucky
I
we
can't
are.
get outside,
Me too.
then I go find, go
Somewhere.
to the DIA or go
Right.
to Greenfield Village or,
I love that.
some interesting place in your neighborhood, have a
Right.
staycation activity. Like I've always wanted to go. This one I did recently with some friends and one of my kids was able to go. We went and looked at the train station that they redid, right?
Oh, how was it?
It was super cool. And there
It
was
looks
all kind of cool
beautiful.
artwork and artifacts and,
Wow. They did such an amazing job.
really truly like the
Oh my
and see
goodness.
that's the whole thing, like to sit and appreciate
Yes.
that somebody's talent was
Oh my goodness.
doing the different things and how ornate and beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And they actually had these really cool like little energy light things that you would talk to it and they would like move around you.
Oh,
That
that's
was kinda
lovely.
cool. Yeah,
You must have really loved that.
it was super cool.
Oh
I was
my
over there like talking to it and watching it light up. So
It's amazing.
but you know what I'm saying? So
I
there's
completely understand.
we're choosing how we spend our time. So if you choose to spend your time being a couch potato,
Yeah, I have been. But I'm so glad
that's
we
a-
went dancing.
that's a choice. Yeah, I'm glad I am too. But like that's one of my favorite ways to like move energy,
Yeah.
right? Because that's really what you're doing. You're moving your energy, and everybody feels uplifted, and they smile and they laugh, and they're having a
That's
good
right.
time.
That's right. Yeah, because like even if you're having a challenge like diabetes, if you're I guess drinking the right amount and if you want to have a little treat or something, but then you go dancing, it's sort of right. You know what I mean? There's kind of like this sort of
There's balance to everything, right?
right.
It's all about
'Cause
choices.
it's part of the joy of life,
Yeah,
to enjoy your
so-
friends and
Absolutely.
know.
So that's why I'm saying we can absolutely choose to have treats and have different things, but then we also have to choose to move our energy and keep our fitness level too.
yeah, I know, because it's really easy to sit on the couch and just sit and talk and relax, but it's like, no, we should dance. Then we go and it's
And there's
just,
a time for everything, but again, it's that whole balance. But again, spending time with friends is uplifting energetically versus you're at home at your house texting them.
yeah, I
It's
know.
a totally different experience than going out with your friends and chatting.
Yeah.
Even if you're sitting on the couch. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
It's a totally different experience that you're more engaged in.
Yeah.
So I would rather than texting back. To me, texting is like, I'll meet you at this time, or
Right,
here's the
it's
address
to
that
make
you
the
need it.
plan.
Yes.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I either want to, if we're going to have a conversation, if you're too far away, we'll talk on the phone or video chat, but otherwise, let's do something in person.
Absolutely.
And better than, I'm about having quality time, not quantity. I don't need to talk to you every single day.
Right.
But when we get together, I want to have good quality time.
That's beautiful.
know,
Yeah, and I
so.
think that's how you are with your patients too. I think that, the time that you have them in front of you, like they're your whole world. They're your whole world.
Absolutely. And we're
You
not
know.
distracted by other
No.
things going on.
No. And I think they need that. That's healing in itself, to be listened to, and at that level, like, because you're an excellent listener, to be able to just like say, like, I'm here for you, and you're actually there. You're right there, and then you're also, this healing energy is just naturally coming from you, and they can feel it. And but it's amazing how we want to give to others, don't we? We want to give of ourselves to someone
Absolutely.
else. It feels wonderful.
Absolutely. So
I think we're
it
like,
feels very natural to me anyways. So, we're all a little
Yeah.
bit different, but
yeah,
Anyhow, and it crosses, it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter the gender, it doesn't matter the race, the background,
No.
that all that just falls away, and it is all about the energy, you know.
Yeah.
And this is actually kind of interesting. There's a woman I started working with close to about a year ago. I think she started coming to see me last December. In her 40s, has children, married, and has cancer. Had a cancer diagnosis, very serious, you know, and she was referred to me by somebody else who had worked with me, who said, you need
Oh.
to meet this person. And she had not spent any time one-on-one or professionally or ever sought out working with a Caucasian person.
Wow.
And that was her own biases growing up and all of that. And we've had some mind-blowing conversations over this past year because she's like, I parent differently because of you. I am trying new things because of you, because that hadn't been her experience before. She didn't really have any experience, right?
She was so open.
Well, she became open, but she wouldn't have come to me if a family member that she trusted hadn't said, I've known this woman for over 20 years, and she's worked with me and my husband and my kids. And because again, like I talked about earlier, these things have like a familial connection. Yes, you can have genetic reasons why you would share a similar disease state, but one of the biggest things that you share with your family is your habits.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
What you eat and how you take care of yourself. It's one of the biggest things that we have. So it's so important that we lead the way in our family. If we want our kids to be healthy and move, I go for walks with my kids.
I'm so glad.
Come on, let's go.
I'm so glad.
During COVID, when we were stuck in the house and you were talking about how I do ecstatic dance and all that, I would put music on and I would just start dancing like a freak in the living room, right? Hilarious. And they'd just be like, oh, gosh,
they probably laughed. And then did they join in at some point?
I'd be like, come on, let's do this thing.
On, like it's okay.
But even if they don't,
it doesn't matter.
Even if I'm making them laugh while I'm doing it,
that's healing in itself.
It is. It's still raising their energy. But you know what? Like, my kids call me Baby Yoda because I have so much like energy,
that's
you know.
So cute.
And my kids tell me all the time, like I know that you get like a senior discount on your phone bill and stuff, you know. And I'm a member of AARP. I'm a card-carrying member of AARP, and that's great. But you know what? They're like, I don't feel like you're old, and I'm like,
right?
I don't feel like I'm old either, though.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I feel like I'm the same person with just a lot more wisdom and experience.
Yeah,
you know.
But it's just lovely to age the way that we want to, because there isn't this, you know, expectation of aging. Like you're redefining. And
it can be graceful, and it can be filled with wisdom instead of aches and pains. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather sit and commiserate with you about the wisdom that we've gained over the years instead of like my hip hurts. I was talking with one of my, I think I've told you that on Fridays, I get together with some Ayurvedic colleagues from around the country, around the world.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And we share with each other and support each other because you know how hard it is being like a self-employed person, right?
It's so nice to have other people, community, especially, it doesn't matter that they're around the world, but like you have similar patients and similar questions.
But we just like what we do and what lights us up and what we're into, we're all on that same page.
Definitely.
So she was telling me, this gal has Japanese descent background.
Wow.
And she was she works for a tour company on occasion in Japan.
Okay.
And she's putting together, this is really mind-blowing, like where before people travel, that she will be giving them some health coaching going forward. She's a younger person in her 30s, and she was saying all these people were her age, all millennials. And one of them even was like walking with a cane. They have so much inflammation and hip pain, knee pain, joint pain because they are so sedentary.
Oh my goodness.
And they have such bad habits. And I was like, my mind is blown.
Yeah, completely.
Because when I was 30, I wasn't having those problems.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But it's amazing that she cared and said, I'm going to do something about this.
So now she's putting together her own tour where she'll be taking some people next year. But we just had a conversation about it earlier
Isn't
this,
that? But it's funny because, like, we can say, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense," right? Like people that are, a lot of people have video games and things like that, but you're like in one position for a long time.
yeah. So people who have a really sedentary habits, like they're into anime, they're into movies, they're into gaming, you are sitting. You're not up doing that.
Coding, right? Programming.
All that stuff. And it's interesting and we need those
We
things,
do.
right? But those people also need to find balance and get out in nature, get outside, move their energy. You
Yeah,
know?
I know. I have a friend like who like is like what's the word? Sensitive to light, and sometimes screens flicker and TVs flicker, and there's all these terms dithering and flickering, and there's like this whole LED strain like culture, and they all help each other. And they say this iPhone, this phone didn't hurt me. This kind of TV, I was able to watch this like but don't get this because this is like painful.
It's interesting. And I'd just be like, just go outside and turn the TV off.
Right.
And not that I don't love watching a movie or
Totally.
like again, our
Totally.
screens can be really helpful,
Yeah.
right?
I learn
When
all
I
the
was a
time.
kid, I used to like read the encyclopedia and the dictionary and all these things to learn
Look at
things.
the
And
pictures
I tell
and
my kids, if there was Google when I was a kid, who knows what I would know right now, because I'd be
yes.
Googling things up all the time. And even as an adult, I do.
Yeah.
And even with like the whole AI thing, like
So
like
interesting.
everything in life can be used for a positive
Definitely.
or it can be used in a negative.
Right.
Or be too much,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So there are so many things and ideas that you can get from using electronics,
Yes,
right? And they
definitely.
can make our lives a lot easier in a lot of ways. Like it's so easy to connect with people. The furthest away that I've worked with a client is in Africa,
Wow.
right? How can I work with somebody on another continent on the other side of the world?
How can you?
Videos. Isn't that
Wow.
great?
That's amazing. And they could
Yeah.
feel your energy and you can.
Absolutely, but that's not the only thing that we're doing, right? I
Yeah.
do consultations with people and educate people on habits and all kinds of things, right?
Wow. I'm so glad you found this
But
path.
you can just as easily show somebody a yoga move that's in Africa as somebody that's right here in town,
That's
right?
amazing.
And I think now that with the onset of like things with COVID, that people of all age ranges are more used to using video calls and so
Definitely.
on to connect with people. And it
Definitely.
can be very convenient. I mean, there's absolutely something to be said for in-person connection, and I love it. I really do.
Me too.
I feel like I like that in-person thing, but I do like the ability to help people wherever. And that person that I'm helping on the other side of the world was probably referred to me by somebody that I know personally from in-person work,
Yeah,
right?
right, right. It's amazing how it branches out. And it's just really wonderful that you get recommendations because it must feel really good going in saying this person believes in me so much that they want me to meet you.
Well,
That's wonderful.
well, also the fact that I've been working at the same cancer treatment
Oh
center
my
for 25
goodness.
years,
That's
it's
unbelievable.
it's been a great relationship. And like I said, I've helped people in different capacities. I've taught yoga classes, Reiki classes, lifestyle classes, meditation,
Wow.
pranayama, like all those things, plus doing hands-on healing. And however I can help in
Definitely.
that regard. But
Would
it's very and right now a lot of the work is even focusing on the caregivers of the patients
Oh, that's
because
so true.
we know how stressful that is
My
to take on
goodness.
that role
I
for
think
people.
November is Caregivers Month,
It is. So
right?
there's a lot going on, and they
At
do
the hospital, there must
yeah,
be a
there
lot.
is, yeah.
They're
So
just angels, aren't they? Because they are,
and you know what? The staff, I work with the greatest people, and they are world-class caregivers. All the nurses and doctors and people that work there, that's
I'm
what they
so
are doing.
glad.
They are caregiving to our loved ones.
It's a tireless, you know what I mean? It's exhausting. I can't imagine at the end of the day, like, and they work 12 hours, a lot of them, right? Like 12 hours. Like,
They
I
work
can't
all kind of
imagine,
different shifts, different
you
people,
know?
and
But I'm glad that people will find you and that, can ask you things and, you don't mind talking about it and saying, hey, what do you have going on? And then you can kind of see where you can help them. And I know that there's different kinds of like body types and things like that in Ayurveda. And so, you can kind of like begin a journey and then just kind of, they could just keep learning
well,
about it.
everybody that wants to work with me, like one on one, or be in Club Me, which is my energy, That is a year-long program.
Wow.
But anybody that wants, we start with a consultation. So we do the dosha testing. So I
Very
think what
good.
you're referring to is that we all have our doshas. So a
Yes.
lot of people are familiar with Chinese medicine and the elements. Ayurveda is very similar, that we have the different elements. So we have
Okay.
vata, pitta, and kapha.
Okay.
And we are currently in vata season, just now transitioned into vata season.
Okay.
And vata means wind or air. And that's like our winter season. It also
Oh.
describes a lot of health issues that we have when we are drier, right? So people with like
Interesting.
more anxiety, more joint pain, and all those kinds of things are seem to have a vata imbalance, right? In the
Interesting.
spring, we have kapha. Kapha means water. And those are people who maybe tend to carry more mucus. They gain weight more easily. That like they're more fluid, right?
Yes.
And then we have pitta, which is fire. And those people, and again, that's a season. Those are also referring to the seasons, right?
Okay.
That would be summer season. But
Right.
but how that would display in the body is people who have ulcers or they have a lot of acidity in the body. Maybe they
Oh
have a
my
lot of stomach
goodness.
troubles and things like that would be seen to have a pitta imbalance.
Wow.
We all have elements of all the, but
Elements, yes.
how that plays out in us, what our prakriti, our nature is versus what's going on with us when we have an imbalance. That's kind of where I come in with the consultation. So we look at all those different things, and then I help a person determine their dinacharya, their daily routine, and we set up, and we know everybody. Like I'm a big Oprah fan, but like
Me too.
Deepak, all these different people. Anybody that's super successful, and I don't care what they do for a living, we all hear them talk about they have a specific morning routine,
Yes,
or they
they
have
do.
a specific daily routine.
Yes, they do.
And that is
Really important.
that is the cornerstone of Ayurveda, is our dinacharya, our daily routine, to
Wow.
have our daily habits. And again, I was referring to, we get up early before 6 a.m.
Right.
I was up at 4 a.m. today,
My goodness.
but I like time to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And I have to get my kids up at like 7, right?
So you
So,
give yourself that time before.
I'm always up before 6, but some days I get up even earlier. I've been trying to learn French because my bestie bought a house in France and I'm planning to go
That's
visit.
lovely.
And I would like to be able, I always wanted to learn French. And it's just like anything that you say, I've always wanted to do.
Yes.
So this is a way that I'm using electronics.
That's amazing.
I'm on Duolingo, right?
Yes.
But I can be social on Duolingo too. I have other friends that are learning languages.
Oh,
We have
that's
challenges
so
with each
nice.
other.
That's so nice.
But I'm learning the language I want to learn. They're learning the languages that they want to learn. But we can still
Wow.
have challenges and interact and cheer each other on.
That's amazing.
So there's a way to do that. But I, wanted to do a little bit more. I've been in the Diamond League, whatever, for a few months, which is like, and I wanted to keep up there. And I was like doing my lesson, my little bit every day, but I didn't really put any extra in. So I got up a little extra early today.
Wow.
And I did French for like a whole hour
My
this morning,
goodness. Do you really feel like it's like it's percolating, right?
We can teach an old dog new tricks, right? So, but that's like me. I'm always like a lifelong learner. Like
Yes.
a few years ago, I was like, I always wanted to learn guitar. And so I did a guitar thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so now, once a month, he has like, once you take a guitar class with this guy, it used to be in person, but now everything is virtual. And once a month, he has like office hours, and you can tune in
Wow.
for life as long as he decides to keep teaching. And he's been doing it for like 30 years.
That's amazing.
You can tune in and ask him questions about how to play
Wow.
guitar or whatever instrument you take
And you
from
can
him.
be in front of him, and then he can see what you're doing.
He has his camera set up so that you can see how he's playing, and you can ask questions.
It's
and
almost like
participate.
being there because you can
But
see really well
I
and
just,
all that.
it was something I always wanted to do.
I'm
So
so
instead
glad.
of sitting on the couch
Yeah.
watching TV saying,
Right.
I always wanted to learn French, I always want to learn how to play guitar, I just do it.
Yes.
That's the difference, right?
Yeah, that is the difference.
That is the only difference.
Yeah, because there's so much available to us, and we're very lucky. I think we're lucky to be alive at this time.
Well, I'm just saying it is very easy. When I was having my health problems and I wanted to see somebody alternative, different, and we
Right.
didn't have somebody here in Michigan that was doing those things,
Yes.
I had to travel out of state. And there wasn't video calls. I had to go someplace else to
Oh, my
see an
goodness.
Ayurvedic doctor.
That's
right?
hard.
It is hard.
That's hard.
So like I said, I've worked with people all over the world, and there may or may not be people in their corner of the world
Right.
or the town they live in. Because
Right.
even here in Michigan, if you don't live in a metropolitan area, If you live in the outskirts
You're
someplace
probably
or
not
you
going to
live in a
have,
farming community,
right.
you might not have access.
No.
But the whole world is open up because we have video calls,
Or
right?
some, yeah. It's
And we
amazing.
have the ability to, no matter where we live, we could do a yoga class online. We can learn how to meditate.
Wow.
We can learn a new language. We can learn to play an instrument. We can do all kinds of things.
Yeah, it
So,
keeps us young, I think, to learn,
but
doesn't
if you
it?
have that desire, you absolutely can find a way to fulfill it,
That's great.
and there's just so many options available.
There really are, I know. But I'm just really glad that, Carmanos has been such a great home for you for such a long period of time because, just the numbers of people that you've met and touched and healed and are still friends with and, still
And put people,
influence.
like when I met Dr. Kruger all those years ago, he changed my life. I'll never forget him.
Wow.
And I have people tell me later on that I've had that same effect on them. And that
That's
is a really
amazing.
good feeling to say, I've had some really crappy things happen, but I was able to do something with that, gain
Yes.
some wisdom from that, and then be able to help other people
Right.
with that wisdom so that they didn't have to maybe have such a hard road.
No, that's
right?
true. Yeah, and sometimes we meet people at just the right time, and even like a disease process can kind of like get our attention at just the right time so that we can actually.
But I love it when the people refer me to their friends and family that
Definitely.
don't have cancer yet, that don't have a debilitating
Wow.
disease yet. Because
Wow.
if we can help people rehabilitate and heal once they've already been in a disease state, think about how wonderful your life can be if you just start taking care of yourself before all those bad things happen.
Wow, that's
And
absolutely
you
true.
get some education around how to care for yourself before any of those things happen.
Yeah,
How good your life can be.
that's powerful because you could literally give yourself years with your children that maybe,
You can
might
just
not
give
have.
yourself years
just years to do to
do
go to
whatever you
friends
want.
and
Not everybody wants to have kids.
yeah,
People want to do other things.
yeah, definitely. It's amazing.
But
But we want to be, young and stretch and that's a good thing about yoga too, is it just kind of keeps you nimble and, you don't want to stop moving.
that was a big thing. Like I mentioned, I broke my leg and my knee last year.
Oh, that's
And one of
right.
my
I
friends
remember
was
that.
telling me, like, she's like, but you have so much upper body strength. Like you were able to get around, better. And I said, yes. I mean, it was really hard. Don't get me
I have
wrong.
no idea.
But
how
I
you got
think
through
about
that.
the fact, like, what if I was like the typical person in their mid 50s who was very sedentary prior to that? How much harder it would have been to heal and to get around. And I said, I'm really thankful that I've had this yoga practice for well over
Me
30
too.
years, this
Me too.
meditation practice for well over 30 years, and that I knew how some things to do, even though I did rely on having other people like
Sure.
support me in my healing, right?
Was it the same leg? It was, right?
On my left side, I broke my leg and my knee.
And
I had
your
a
knee.
spiral fracture to the distal fibula, and I had a tibial plateau fracture. And it was on the same leg, but they weren't at the same time. They were two
No.
separate injuries. But I was
Right.
in the cast when I fell and broke the leg. I already had a broken leg when I fell and broke the
I
knee.
can't. That must have been unbelievable pain. Oh
But
my goodness.
it was excruciating pain. But the point is that for everything in life, like I feel like yoga makes like, and I tell people this all the time, whatever sport you play, whether you're a golfer, you play basketball, tennis, whatever, doing yoga will make whatever else you want to do in life better and easier when it comes
Interesting.
to those physical things.
Right.
But even mentally,
Right.
what yoga gives you, it's really just incredible. It makes everything easier. But I was like, being a runner won't make your yoga practice better. Being a tennis player won't make your yoga practice better, but being a yogi will make those other things better.
Isn't that interesting?
You will be fit, you will be strong, you will be flexible mentally and physically.
It's probably one of the very best ways, maybe, to sort of not age as well. Like,
Well, to help you age gracefully.
I think so. I think yoga is probably
I don't
the
desire
ultimate.
to be young again. I just desire to have the energy and vitality and strength,
Yeah, I know, because
But
when
I
you
like
go
the
to
wisdom
friends,
that I
like
have.
there could be a lot of stairs and there could be a lot of, it could be physically grueling for
Like I was
somebody who
saying,
is in
this person
condition.
who just took these people around in Japan was talking about how difficult it was for some of these people in their 30s to get around
Unbelievable.
on a walking tour. And other parts of the world rely very heavily
Very much.
on public transportation, where you have to be able to get on and off. I know
Oh my
I had
goodness.
reason to go on an ambulance with another person that was going to the hospital. I needed to go with them while I was in this leg brace and cast. And I know that the ambulance drivers were like just blown away because I was able to pull myself up onto the ambulance with my upper body strength without bending that leg. And they were like, I don't know
I don't
how
think
you
they've
got up
ever
there.
seen that before. Yeah,
They really,
that's
they were like amazed. They were like,
unbelievable.
what, how did you get so strong? And I'm like, yoga. So I'm not lifting weights. I don't go to the gym and lift weights. I think that's so awful. I don't like to run. That's
I
kind
don't
of,
either.
I
Yeah,
like to hike. I like to walk. I like to be outside. I garden a lot. So I'm using my physical strength for sure,
that's true.
you know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like very strenuous, but when you get up from gardening, you're kind of like, okay, that was a workout, right?
I wear my kids out. I was out there because again last weekend it was so nice out. I
Yes. Oh
spent
my
a good
gosh.
well things started blooming again, which meant weeds grew again. Even though we really shouldn't have be having that right
So
now.
we have to,
So
yeah.
I spent a couple hours like pulling weeds, and I was like digging them out from the roots so that they won't be
Wow.
back in the spring. Like
Yes.
the ones that like interfere with the plants I'm trying to grow and the
Right.
food I'm trying to grow.
Right.
The ones that are invasive and take over.
Yeah, like we don't
But
want those
otherwise, I
ones.
try to let things be kind of natural,
Mm-hmm.
But I did. I spent a good couple of hours out there. But you don't need a set of weights when you can go out and, you're squatting, you're bending,
You are.
you're
You
getting
are.
all the moves in. And again, core strength so important, right? Being able to we talk about balance. I've been talking about balance, even our physical balance. You cannot be a balanced walker, stay upright without falling and tripping. Like a lot of people fall and trip and all these things as they get older,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's because they don't have any core strength anymore. So how do you have the core strength? You have to
You have
have,
to build it.
yeah.
Do you
But
think do you think that like if I didn't like Pilates, like would yoga give me just as good benefits, results?
Pilates is different than yoga.
Okay.
So I've practiced both.
Okay.
Pilates only focuses on the core,
Okay.
and it's not the same mental aspects.
Yeah, yeah.
Yoga literally means yoking your breath and your movement.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So if you are being expansive and inhaling, like that's inhaling. When I'm like folding or bending, I'm exhaling,
Okay.
moving my body, right?
With
I'm
the breath.
yoking my breath and my movement. And then we talk about like the Yoga Sutras, right? Have you heard of the Yoga Sutras?
Are they like positions or
A sutra, no, a sutra means in Sanskrit means thread. So the Yoga
thread?
Sutra is a book about and has just little bits of wisdom, right?
That's beautiful.
You could spend a year talking about the first one or two or three or four
Oh my
Yoga
goodness.
Sutras, right?
That's
Because they
profound.
really have lessons for life. They really do. So there, some people use yoga as a spiritual vehicle, but it's not just a physical practice, right?
Right.
So
There's so much to it, isn't there?
there
Like
really is. So when I teach yoga class, and I was even doing like seated yoga for the patients.
that's amazing.
The first so we weren't, and I think a lot of people were imagining like I'm gonna have to keep my physical strength up for a whole hour if I go to this hour-long class.
No.
And there are classes that are like that. They are focused on the physical practice. Or the asana. Asana are the postures of yoga, right?
Asana, yeah.
There's over 4,000 of them.
Oh my
And most of
goodness.
them are named after plants and animals and things that you see in nature.
Like cobra and things like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
cobra,
I
down
understand.
dog,
Yeah, I understand.
So things like that. So or tree pose or mountain pose, right? So these are different names that they have for them. So any yoga class that you go to or yoga teacher that's well trained and certified and all that, they might focus on less than 80, because there's over 4,000, right? And some of them are simply too challenging for the average person where
Yeah.
you're balancing like your whole weight on your
Right.
arms or something.
Yeah.
But I don't even want to say age, as we gain wisdom in our bodies, the physical practice of yoga becomes less of importance, right? And it's more of a mental
That's
aspect.
beautiful.
We do learn the asanas, the physical postures, but when I teach a class, we would talk about a sutra for the first 15 or 20 minutes of class and really like, what does that mean? Like, what does yoga mean on the mat versus off the mat, like in our life, right?
Wow.
Then we would do the physical practice. And for some people, they would be seated, right? So when I had the broken leg and I was laid up in bed, I could still practice yoga,
That's amazing.
but not doing exactly the same things that I would do if I was able to put both feet on the ground. I was on one foot, right?
Right.
I know that when I was in the hospital in the orthopedic ward, I was the only person on the entire floor who could get themselves to the bathroom.
Wow.
And I was not the
Because
youngest
nobody
person
else
there.
could. Nobody
I
else
had
could.
the physical stamina and strength to get myself up and balance on one foot
Oh my God.
because of my yoga practice that
Oh
I've
my
had for years,
God.
you know. But so we would do the physical practice and then we would spend the last 20 minutes in meditation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do people really love that part?
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Because that's where you get that peaceful feeling, you know, and that's where you get a lot of the benefit of yoga. It is not just the physical aspect. It's really that mind aspect. That's
And spiritual aspect.
absolutely
Makes you feel connected.
But again, you don't have to be a particular religion, but I do feel a very deep spiritual connection. And when you like an old school yoga practice, when we start the practice, we set our intention and we chant Om. But again, we're moving our energy. When one of the reasons that we
And
chant,
body.
if you do like the Om, we're creating vibration in our body.
Yeah,
It's
'cause you
very
can
healing.
hear it.
But you
You
can
can
feel
feel
it.
it.
Yes, and we're creating vibration in our body. And Om is the sound that they say that the world made when it was created.
That's beautiful.
So that's actually one of the things that even in Karuna Ki,
Yeah.
which comes from Japan. Again, Om is a seed mantra from Sanskrit, from Ayurveda, that's thousands of years old. But even in Karuna Ki, energy healing, which comes from Japan, Om is one of the sounds that they connect with for that healing energy.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
It's
It
just
crosses
beautiful.
cultures. It's really interesting.
It's so beautiful. I mean, I think the whole Japanese culture is so beautiful, don't you?
It
Like,
really is. There's a lot of aspects. And when I studied religion, I studied world religions, and it was fascinating. And there's things I like from every religion and every
Yeah.
discipline throughout the world.
I agree with you. Isn't
I
that
kind of
nice?
feel like I want to create my own. You
Yeah,
know,
like a little bit, you know?
yeah,
But
so-
it's beautiful because then you can relate to people, you
But I
know,
can
it's
just
like,
really
oh, I can see
appreciate
that.
there's such beauty and simplicity in some of the things. But you know, like growing up here, I always in my earlier childhood, a lot of my religious experiences were in the Roman Catholic.
Me too.
And you hear about the Golden Rule.
Yeah.
And I even taught catechism for years and years and years. And I always thought that was just a Catholic thing. And I then later came to find out that there is something akin to the Golden Rule in literally every religion in the world.
Wow.
That everybody has
That's
that
interesting.
knowingness that like how we relate to others
Yeah.
is, you know, that it should be that we have a knowing of what feels right to us and that we want to express that to other
It's
people.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like as humans, like it's just one of the most beautiful. I think expressions is just how may I serve, how may I give. You know, like you just want to give. It feels so good, and I think it's amazing that you kind of like live this life and you give and but you have to remember. You told me that to give to yourself.
You can't pour from an empty cup, right? And this is like one of the things like we're talking about caregiver awareness for the month of November.
This month. Mhm.
Is that you know, even when I'm offering and I like kind of the way that I structure my day on the days that I am working in the hospital is that I introduce myself to the patients that are in treatment that day and their caregivers that are there with them and
That's
let
awesome.
them know if they would like to spend time with me.
That's
That I'm
wonderful.
available, right? And I always laugh because the patients will be pointing at their caregiver going, they need to see you. But then the caregiver's going, no, they're the patient. They need to see you. And I'm like, I'm here for both of you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, okay. You know, and the caregivers, they need it too. And I make
really
sure to tell
do.
these people, you cannot do what you're doing for your loved one unless you take care of yourself. You will run out of energy.
Mm-hmm.
You will run out of bandwidth to do it
Totally.
all.
Yeah, because you just can't. And
You
it's
need rest. You need nutritious
it's an
food.
everyday
You
thing.
need a break. You need to go in nature. You need to move your body. You need to do all those things.
So when the caregivers are with the cancer patients and they're receiving treatment, is there any time that the caregivers can kind of maybe just go for a walk in the garden or something like that? Like they don't have to always be with them when they're receiving a treatment or getting infusion or anything like that.
It
Depends on
typically no, but there are some times where patients will need things, and they do need help, so they'll bring a loved
Yeah.
one with them.
Yeah.
But I think it's more like a self-proclaimed imprisonment, that these people feel like I have to stay here because I told them
Yes.
I was coming with them,
Right.
and I can't leave.
I
for a
can't leave
moment.
them. Right.
And so actually, I take them down to my office.
Yes,
right?
I'm so
and
glad.
Take them away.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them,
So
I
glad.
bet you anything that your loved one is going to doze off while you're gone. Right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, they'll come back and they'll be asleep.
Wow.
And then guess what? They both have space.
Yes,
that person
exactly.
can take a break and, answer an email, make a phone call, read a book, whatever they wanted to do that they might need to do because they might have a job and other people,
Yeah.
right? That they need to take care of. And that other person, one of the best things we can do for our healing is get restorative sleep.
Yeah.
Restoration occurs when we're resting.
Wow. And look what they're going
Restoration.
through.
We need the rest.
Restoration. Yeah.
We need the
Because
rest.
they're literally, creating cells and whatnot and fighting. They're fighting a battle.
Well, we all remake our cells. I can get really esoteric with you, but we're all remaking our cells, and most of our cells are remade every 6 weeks. So why is
Wow.
it that if you have colon cancer or liver cancer or something in your lung
Something.
or whatever, that years later you still have it? You have new cells.
Like even fibroids, like I don't know what causes them, but like,
Well, we know what affects them: the foods that we eat
okay.
and stress. Absolute stress is the
What?
evil of like any health condition that you can think of is made worse by stress.
Good Lord.
One of the biggest tasks I have is teaching people how to reduce stress in their lives. And I'm back to talking about our dinacharya, meditation, pranayama, yoga, connecting in nature,
Like-
doing things that light you up, whatever that is for you,
Yeah.
right? What lights you up? What brings you joy? Because those are the things that you need more of, the things that make you happy.
Definitely. Yeah. And that we deserve that. And
And
that,
good clean water and good restful sleep
yes,
and
absolutely.
connections with other people. And again, that's why I do Club Me, because we have that community, right? It's really important to have community of like-minded people. If you are used to putting yourself on the back burner, not taking care of yourself, who's going to be really upset if you suddenly want to take time for you and not put everybody else ahead of you? The people who've been benefiting from you putting them first.
Yeah. They're not
So
going to.
They're not going to give you permission.
No, they're not like ever because they love the way it's like going, right?
A lot of people do. So it's, again, you have to make a decision if you're going to take care of yourself, to take care of yourself. And you've got to put yourself on your own list. So I put myself on my list. I put myself on my calendar. I wasn't always that way. There is a reason that at a young age, I ended up in a diseased state.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
understand that a lot more now than I did.
Definitely. But look at the
30-some odd
life
years
that you've
ago.
created. Look at the work. Like it's
a work in progress. I started out in Ayurveda, right? I made a lot of changes after I met Dr. Kruger to my nutrition, to the way I took care of myself, to learning yoga and all these things. And then, studied Ayurvedic science. And then after I was already working in that field, people started asking me like, have you heard of Reiki? Have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? And it was all about the energy healing. And then I've been a Reiki master since 2001.
wow.
I think it was, or 2000. So for over 20 years, right?
Oh my goodness.
So I learned the energy healing. And then eventually the ministry became an important part of that.
I'm really glad that everything kind of came along when it did because you've taken each thing and kind of carried it forward and incorporated it into your life and into your practice so that you can actually offer a great deal to people because there's such a dimensionality to what you do. So you can like, oh yeah, I think I know what this person might need. And even though your body is literally giving them healing energy just by your very presence and your healing, like you also have like, as a minister, like as a yoga teacher, like you have so much to draw upon to offer them something.
And I think I always encourage people to, I'm going to maybe introduce them to a lot of things that they hadn't been previously aware of, but I always invite them, follow your own intuition, keep exploring, keep digging.
Right.
You know, we're scratching the surface of what's available to you in a holistic sense.
We're kind of, yeah, and I think it's an excavation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a lot to just for people to discover about themselves and what lights them up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
And
amazing.
the things that make me happy aren't going to make you happy necessarily, right?
We agree on a couple of things, though, for sure.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying. It's
I
like
do.
an exploration, you
Yeah.
know, into like doing the things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
Right? And that help you create the life that you want to live, you know.
Right. And then kind of like shine that light so others can follow the example and, you know, like let them do it their way and in their space and time and everything. But it's just really wonderful that people can draw comfort and inspiration, right, from what you're
And
doing.
So I have a lot of
amazing.
people that will go out, like I was saying, that woman who hadn't previously worked with any Caucasian people.
No,
and there
I
was
can't
kind of something she
believe
was
that.
vaguely interested in learning about. But now she was like, okay. And so now she's gone off and she's doing those things. Do I still work with her? Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But she's adding in and she's learning about herself. And she's also showing her kids a new way,
That's
a
amazing.
way that wasn't how she was raised.
No. And they may
Right.
not have had access to that because.
And again, that was a gift that she might not have had she not faced a debilitating diagnosis.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
a serious diagnosis.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it turns out to be like exactly what you needed at a certain point. And it isn't so much that, you know, it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's what will you do with it? And sometimes it can turn into a really beautiful thing, right?
It can. And that's the whole thing, is that all kinds of things are going to happen, you know. And I'm not saying that like every aspect of my life is perfect all the time, but I really feel like the more that you know yourself and the more that you seek to find balance, the easier it is not to be ruffled by life
Right.
when it happens.
Right. I think that you have more to draw upon.
Well, last year was a hard year with my injuries. Like, trust me, I really have thought about this, like how much I really rely on my physical presence, right, to get through life. Like, a lot of the things I enjoy doing require my physical presence, and I
Yes.
didn't have it.
That must have been
It
really
was really
something.
mentally challenging, you know, in a lot of ways. But again, it helped me just deal with another layer of my life, you know.
Yes, that's right.
And I happened to have also lost my dad last year. And it was like, there was a
That's
lot
a
of
lot.
caregiving that went into him before he passed, you know? So you stop and you think about sometimes, and I tell people this all the time, if you don't take a break for you,
Yeah.
the universe will make you take a break.
Yes, that's
And
true.
you're not always going to like how it happens.
No, that's
or
for
when
sure.
that happens. It's not going to be at your convenience.
No,
right?
no, it might be an inconvenient seeming cold or illness or something, and then you just have to stop because your body's like, no, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to reconsider things, right? But
But it also helps you prioritize, you know, like really determine like what is really important to you. And sometimes we need to do that a whole bunch of times in our life. It's not like we just get on a path and we're
yeah, no, definitely not. Especially now, like there's so many things to learn and join and do, and we're constantly, evolving, right?
and there could be too much too, right? We can spread
Definitely.
ourselves too thin. It's like literally it's impossible to know about everything. We need to rely. This is one of the reasons I get together with my Ayurvedic people we're all different ages, we're from different places, we have different experiences, and Ayurveda is such a huge science that we all focus on different aspects of it, but yet we can support one another, right?
It's a miracle to actually study it. It's just so vast.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. And I'm always learning, but I'm a person who likes like learning new things and trying to understand things,
Me
on a
too.
deeper level. So
Yeah.
I really like working with people from other areas and learning what they, and I like all my techie questions. Like, I ask one of the millennials, right? She's
Yes,
like 30,
exactly.
and she seems to really understand that stuff. And I'll be like, well, why this and why that and why the,
And she'll tell
then,
you.
But the thing is, she'll go, those are really good questions.
Awesome.
Because sometimes she doesn't know why she does what she
Right.
does, but yet she
Right.
can help me.
And maybe you could help her see a way around something that might have
Or
stop
I'll
there.
say, there's so many different ways to do this, and I just want to learn. Like my whole big thing was like doing a lot of stuff online. There's so many available platforms, right?
Yes.
And I'm
Oh,
like, well, why
it's
does this
crazy.
person use this one for a calendar and this one for that and this
Right.
one for that? And I was like, my brain doesn't like that, right?
Yeah,
Because it's too many things.
because you shouldn't have to
I
pay subscriptions
I
to
keep
10
my
different things.
computers and my phones and all that really long time. You know why? Because I don't want to take my mental energy to
Yes.
learn new equipment.
Yeah, because it's a lot.
I just exactly,
It's a lot.
but some people that lights them up. My dad was a gadget guy. He liked getting new gadgets all the time. Some people are really into that. So, and I'll be like, I'm just going to learn Google really good because if you're like on Google One or Google Office, they have all the things.
They do. You don't have to even go anywhere else.
Well, but that was like my choice. Do you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
not right for everybody. Some
Yeah.
people are great having 10 different companies that they work with, but I'm like, that's too many subscriptions to
Yeah,
remember.
it might
It's
be
many
too
things,
much.
too many passwords to
know.
create.
Yeah,
It's just too many.
definitely. That alone.
But
Oh
that's
my
just me because
goodness.
I would rather have more time to be outside and garden and spend time with my friends and whatever because I'm not a screen person all the time. I
Yeah.
do use it though. I do
Definitely.
because it's a great way to learn new things.
Yeah, there's a lot of good and everything. I just think we have more access to information and experiences and learning. Like we're just so lucky, honestly. I'm very inspired by you. I really am. I've only known you a little while, but I really feel like
thank
we have a real kindred spirit. I really feel
Yeah.
like I get you.
Well, it's like I say, it's an energy thing, right? And I feel like we are drawn to the people that
Yeah.
we're supposed to. And I said, I always feel like wherever I sit, I'm gonna meet somebody interesting, and there's gonna be a reason that we met.
And it's going to
I
be
always,
beautiful.
but I trust that.
Yeah, me too. I almost look forward to it now. It's kind of like a little fun thing. It's,
Yeah.
like who am I
And
going
I'm
to?
so glad that we met.
Me
of
too.
course,
Oh my gosh, especially
Yeah, but it
like
is an
that
energy
Friday.
thing.
It was
It
so
is,
much fun.
it's definitely an energy thing, though.
Yeah.
So
It's just so nice. It's nice to kind of, visit with people who kind of get things at a really wide level, a really deep level, like really deep, and that, you're spending your life learning and giving your children an example, whether they want to admit it or not. They're maybe more active and more fun and more playful because of you.
or at
And
least you know what they can appreciate that even though I had kids later in life, nobody has ever thought I was their grandparent.
no, that's great.
I'm at the
That's
hospital working
great.
yesterday. There was a young woman that was there with her grandmother, and the young woman, I was like, you look about the same age as one of my kids, who's in the 10th grade. She's like, I'm in the 10th grade, right? And I was like, what are you going to be for Halloween? And, we
Yeah.
were talking. And I was like, gosh, your grandma looks young. Turns out her grandma's a year older than I am.
Oh my
And I said, well, no
goodness.
wonder your grandma looks young to me.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
But that's just my experience, right?
Yeah.
And she was like blown away that I'm the same age as her grandma, who is having some very serious health problems right
Right.
now. That's why
She
this
probably
young woman,
couldn't believe it.
This is why the young woman had the day off of school because she was there in a caregiving capacity because
Wow.
her grandma was one of the people who needed more help and
Definitely.
needed somebody there with her, right?
She must have been struck by the vitality and just attitude.
And I think so. But again, that's just a way to open people's minds that there's a lot of ways to live at different ages in life.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We can be young and have a ton of wisdom, and we can be advanced in years and have a lot of vitality.
Yeah. And it's really lovely because
possible.
I think that we have permission to kind of sort of age gracefully, whatever that means to us, like.
Yeah, well, my one grandpa that lived to be, he passed right before his 102nd birthday.
My
And he used
goodness.
to tell me all the time. And he was mentally sharp.
Wow.
And he was physically active. And
That's
he used-
amazing.
And I used to tell him all the time because he would walk up to go shopping when there was Crowley's. He used to walk up to Crowley's and go there and go shop around. I'd be like, well, what did you do today? And he'd be like, oh, I walked up to Crowley's. I got a haircut. I went over to the bar. I got a burger. I had a beer. I talked with some
That's a
people.
good day.
Yeah. And he would just, and I was like, I have friends that wouldn't walk a mile for something really important,
Right.
Or even to get to work if their car broke down.
Yeah, they'd be
right?
like, what do I do?
Yeah, they would be
call an Uber.
incapacitated, like calling in, like, I can't come today, my car is broken, but your legs aren't, right? But he just had a different mindset,
That's
right?
beautiful.
But like a lot of people, he grew up on a farm and they were
Oh
used
my
to like
gosh,
physical
can you
activity
imagine? What a life, right?
yeah, so
Yeah.
but they were used to that's not what he did for a living, but he was a detective on the railroad.
That's
But the
amazing.
thing is, he lived to be so old, and he got a pension. And he was like, I remember he used to laugh all the time. I bet you they never thought they'd be paying me a pension this long.
But
you know?
they had to
But I
because
remember when I was a little kid, and they lived in Florida, and we went to visit, and I remember standing on his shoulders and doing flips off of him into the ocean, and he would hold on to you out there.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
think about that now where I am in life, and I say, how strong
How
physically
strong.
that man was to be around 80 years old.
The balance.
And the core strength, right? To have a kid who's like a 10-year-old standing on him, pushing off and doing
Wow.
flips,
And he's
how
somehow-
strong. And you're in the ocean, right? It's
Yeah,
knocking
it's
you
not a
around.
joke. It's not a pool.
And
like,
I was like,
it's...
but his words of wisdom were, just keep moving, Stacy. Just keep moving.
That's beautiful.
You want to live a good life, just keep moving.
It's so true.
And he would go for walks around the neighborhood, and if it was really, really cold out or really icy, he would just walk up and down the driveway.
Okay.
Or he would just walk up and down the sidewalk
That's
out
smart.
front.
He's still walking, but he's
Still
just
walking, and
limiting.
he was getting outside. He made
Yeah,
sure
that's
to get
true.
outside every
That's
day.
true.
And that's actually one of the things I do every day in all weather, even when I had the broken bones. Then I wasn't maybe going in my yard. I would just go on the porch. Every day after I get up and I do my few things I need to do,
Yeah.
I get outside. I sit in silence in the dark because I get up early.
Yeah.
And I listen to the day unfold. I
That's
listen
beautiful.
To the birds. I listen to the sounds. I listen to the trees. It's very meditative.
Yeah. It's a different
find
kind of hush. It's a different kind of...
It is. It's the Vata time of day. It's quiet. It's dark. That's a very spiritual, very meditative time of day.
That's beautiful.
to be up.
There's reasons for everything, isn't there?
Yeah. So I really enjoy, I find that really a peaceful way to start my day. And again, having that way that you start the day, and it's just...
And it sets the whole
you're
day in a
easing
certain...
You're
Yeah.
instead of like, when I didn't like what I was doing and I didn't like where I was going, I was pushing the snooze button like
Yeah.
everybody else.
I know,
right?
because you didn't want to get up, right?
Exactly. I was pushing the snooze button like
Yeah.
everybody else.
I know,
right?
because you didn't want to get up, right?
Exactly, because I wasn't looking forward to what I was going to do that day. When
Oh
you
my
when you
God.
set up your routine so that you're doing things that light you up, I want to get up. I got up at 4 o'clock because I wanted to practice French and sit outside and do my yoga practice and
Yeah, right.
before 7 a.m. came and I needed to wake people up.
But then you feel good because you're like, okay, that was a good morning, and then you can go on with the day.
It was. I feel really easeful,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of like, I've got 20 minutes and I got to go.
No,
And then
you didn't
don't-
have that
And then
energy.
people don't have the time to eat and take care of themselves and
Yeah.
nourish themselves and bathe and do all the things. right?
Yeah,
I-
like,
I
oh,
want
and
time for,
I need this for school. Oh, okay. Like, you know.
I want all the things. I want to pack my kids a good lunch. I want
Mm-hmm.
to exercise. I want to meditate. I want to, read. I want to journal. I want to do all the things that I want to
Wow.
do. So I get up and I do it.
That's amazing. I think it's a very powerful example for your children. I really do. And if you'd ever like to come back, it's such a pleasure spending time with you. I really
Yes.
hope that you've enjoyed being here.
I have. I really have.
I'm really glad. Thank you so much. I've just shown it's Healing Goddess LLC, so that's your website will be coming about in the next little bit, and we have a phone number, and so that's great. But thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed spending time with us. And thank you so much, and see you next time.